G'day, I'm Matt. This channel is called The Right Car, where I try and help you find the right car for your needs. Is this going to be it? Well, if you're after a high-riding wagon that's just received a turbocharged kick up the arse, it could well be. There's a lot going for the Subaru Outback, and I'm going to tell you why it could be the right car for you for a whole bunch of reasons, and a couple of reasons why it might not be the right car for you too. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. Please do hit like and subscribe and the bell icon to keep up to date with everything I'm doing. Thanks. The Subaru Outback is still relatively affordable despite some price increases for 2023 model year and beyond, and you'll see the prices for the non-turbocharged versions on your screen now. The two top versions of the non-turbo models are available with the new XT turbo package, and that adds $5,000 to the price tag. So this one here is the Sport XT. It's the entry-level turbo version, and it gets a bunch of really good equipment, including LED lights. You've got these 18-inch alloy wheels. Inside you get an 11.6-inch touchscreen media system. There's Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, sat-nav. You also get heated front seats, heated rear outboard seats, and yeah, no sunroof on this one. If you choose the top spec version, you do get a sunroof and a few other extras, including Napa leather seat trim and the choice of a two-tone interior if that's what you're after. I reckon the Sport one does have a little bit more going for it, but I can also see the appeal of the top spec Touring XT. But tell me your thoughts in the comments. If you're looking at the Subaru Outback and you haven't already considered a Subaru Forester, then maybe you should. Look, it doesn't come with the turbocharged option available at this point in time, but it is several $1,000s cheaper and not that much smaller on the inside. So it does offer quite a bit of value for money. So if you're a Subaru person, maybe check out the Forester as well if this isn't quite right for you, or maybe you can't justify the extra money to get into the XT top spec versions. In terms of other wagons with all-wheel drive that you should be checking out, if you want a turbocharged one that's very, very premium, well, you're going to be looking at the Skoda Superb. I reckon it's one of the best wagons you can get, and it is very, very nice to drive as well. But if you want the crossover high-riding look, then you're going to have to also check out the Volkswagen Passat Alltrack. It is a bit expensive though, so it might not be the right car for you, and it is approaching the end of its current generation life cycle, so it might not be the most up-to-date car that you can buy as well. But honestly, I reckon the Subaru Outback is the pick of the crop when it comes to these high-riding wagons. The Subaru Outback is considered a large SUV, believe it or not. I mean, I can sort of see why. It's about 4.9 meters long, so it's a big car in terms of length, and it's also pretty tall because of these roof rails. And if you decide that you want to fit something on there like a roof rack system or maybe a cargo box, then you might find that it is too tall for those low clearance underground car parks. So make sure you don't drive in and then regret it. Now, it's big. Does it have a big boot? It's got an electric tailgate on this grade. The Subaru Outback's boot is about a small suitcase bigger than the Forester's boot, so if that matters to you, this is going to be the better car for your needs. It is a massive boot. It's got a really big opening as well, and not too high of a load lip, which is going to be helpful if you are putting in heavy items. Like all the Subaru 4x4 models, you get a full-size spare wheel under the boot floor, which is nice to know, and it's a massive boot space. You've got these handy little handles to fold down the back seat if you do want to load in anything even bigger. Obviously you can remove that parcel shelf cover there and it opens up a huge space. You could probably sleep in there if you wanted to. I reckon the interior of the Subaru Outback Sport XT model is one of the most interesting in a large SUV that you can buy. And that's because it has some nice trim elements that you just don't see in other cars at this sort of price point, including this fluorescent stitching, which seems to be on the dashboard. It's on the seats as well. These seats are covered in what Subaru calls a water repellent cover. So I guess that's designed for adventuring or who knows what else. It's definitely a very comfortable material to sit on, and it's nice and soft as well. So they are pretty comfy seats. There's also some really nice elements to the dash display and this whole sort of look of the dashboard is actually quite intriguing. As I said, you get this big 11.6-inch touchscreen media system. Some of the controls have been changed for this updated version, and I think it is a little bit easier to interact with than it used to be. But still, you've got some buttons on the side, so you've got temperature controls, you've got your tuning and volume controls as knobs as well, but you still have to go through the screen if you want to put on the recirc air conditioning setting. So that's one thing. And also you have to touch the fan button. It's a hard button that's set up down the bottom of the screen too. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty manageable and you do get used to it very quickly. In terms of storage, there's a cubby here that you could put your phone. You've got big cup holders between the seats. There's a big covered center console bin here, and unlike in the WRX, you don't have a CD player in the way in there as well. In terms of storage, up in the doors, you've got these big bottle holders. You've got also a little shelf in front of the passenger and a glove box, which is full of the service books and owner's manuals and that sort of stuff. Up here, if you're wondering what this black strip is, that's where the driver monitoring camera sits. Tell you more about that in the safety section. No digital dials on this grade or on any grade of the Outback, which is a little bit disappointing. You do get a small digital screen between the instrument dials, but it is just feeling a little bit outdated in that regard. The steering wheel has had some changes to its design too. Apparently it's a cleaner design, but there's still lots and lots of buttons. You do get used to it. I reckon it's a pretty nice front seat experience. Let's check out the back. I mentioned before that the Subaru Outback is considered a large SUV, and when you sit in the back you can understand why it's in that category, because it's really roomy back here. This seat is set for me at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. I've got lots and lots of knee room and foot room and head room, and a really good view out too, because there's quite a lot of glass in this car. I put my daughter in the car as well, and she thought that the view out was pretty good, although she did miss not having a sunroof. So that might matter to you and your family as well. If you do have a family, there are ISOFIX points in the window seats and 3 top tether points as well. And in a nice touch, you do get directional air vents and heated outboard rear seats in this car too. There's a couple of USB charge ports down here. Really good storage. You've got these multiple map pocket seat backs, which are really handy. There's bottle holders in the doors, and you'll find a flip down armrest with cup holders here too. So it's got all the amenities, and the accommodation is very nice back here. It's excellent for a family SUV. I know you're watching the review of the turbocharged model, and this is the turbo engine, but I'm going to give you a bit of context with the non-turbocharged engine outputs first. So it's a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder boxer in the non-turbo models, and you'll see the outputs on your screen now. They aren't bad, but they're not necessarily as punchy as what you get if you choose this powertrain instead. Now, as you can see on the screen now, the power outputs are considerably more. You're talking 32% more power and 42% more torque. Or if you break it down, it's about $116 extra per Newton meter. So I guess that's interesting to someone out there. I found it interesting. All models come with a CVT automatic transmission, which could be a deal breaker if you are a real sporty car enthusiast, but let me tell you, it's pretty good, and I'll get to it in the driving section. It's all-wheel drive, as you would expect of an Outback. Let's answer the big question first. Is it worth $5,000 more to get this turbocharged engine? Yes and no. I would say I could live without it in my personal circumstances. Look, I like the fact that it does have more pulling power, more poke, more potency than the regular 2.5 litre non-turbo engine. But then again, $5,000 would buy a really nice holiday, and the other engine is very livable, you know? So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a must. And I definitely wouldn't say it's a must if you're gonna do what I've been doing with the car for my week with it, which is just driving around, dropping my daughter off at daycare, picking up the shopping, whatever I needed to do. This was the car I did it in. But look, I haven't been left hankering to go and find a really twisty bit of road to see just how fast this car is, because it's a Subaru Outback. It's not supposed to be super duper fast. And look, it doesn't have as much power as the WRX. It's got the same level of torque, and that means that the effortless power is there. And you don't necessarily want to go exploring the rev range in this car to the nth degree. That's not what it's about, but it is more effortless than the 2.5 litre. There's no doubt about that. And if you want something that is more effortless and just a little bit more relaxed in the way that it drives, then I could totally get why you would choose the turbo instead of the 2.5. The CVT automatic, just like in the non-turbocharged version, is really good though. It's one of those CVTs that just gets the job done. It's not too laggy when you go off and on throttle, which some of these CVT cars can be. But yeah, I reckon it's a pretty good match to this turbo engine for sure. One of the best things about the Outback since this generation launched has been the ride quality and comfort. It does have a really cushy, comfortable ride to it, which means that driving around urban streets or bumpy roads or whatever it may be, even the freeway, it dispenses with those little annoyances in the drive experience really well. It makes it a serene place to be. It's very quiet in here too, even though that engine is kind of loud when it's at idle. And then there's the steering, which is fine, but I don't think it's the best. It's a little bit heavier than it probably needs to be at low speeds, but it does have pretty quick action. So that means that, you know, when you come up to a corner, you don't actually have to turn the wheel that much for it to go through the corner. It's, yeah, pretty good. The tires aren't fantastic, but they're not designed to be grippy corner carvers anyway. All told, I reckon that this drive experience in the turbo Outback is definitely good, but I reckon the non-turbo one is also good. It's just that for me, I don't necessarily see that there's $5 worth of value. If it was $3, yep, I'd do it. Not 5. Let's talk efficiency. Officially, this engine is a downsized turbocharged engine compared to the 2.5 litre that's offered also in the Outback range. And that means that it should, in theory, be more efficient, but it's not. Here's the figure for the non-turbocharged versions of the Outback. That's the official combined cycle figure, so what you should be able to achieve across a mix of driving. And on your screen now, you'll see the official combined figure for the turbo versions. 9 litres per 100 Ks. If you can achieve that, you'll be doing very well. I've gotten nowhere near that during my week, and you'll see my figure on the screen right now. Yeah, it's not necessarily the most efficient car, and that's another reason why I probably wouldn't choose it. The Subaru Outback has the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating, which it achieved in 2021. So it's got all the active safety technology that you would expect to find in a modern day car, including autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian, cyclist and junction detection. Some other Subarus don't have junction detection, so that's a nice thing to have. It's also got lane keeping assistance, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. There's a reversing camera, and if you choose the turbo models, you also get a side and front view camera, but you don't get a top-down surround view camera on any Subaru model, which is a bit of a letdown. You do get rear parking sensors, no front parking sensors because you've got that camera, and it does have all the airbag coverage that you would expect, including dual front, front side, driver's knee, front center and full length curtain airbags. So it is pretty well kitted out when it comes to the safety stuff. There's also a driver monitoring system that keeps an eye on your face and makes sure that you're not drowsy or distracted on the road, but it can be a bit distracting itself. So it's a bit annoying. As is the expectation, Subaru offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty for all of its models in Australia, and there's also a cap price servicing plan for 5 years or 75,000 Ks, which you can either pay as you go or you can choose to prepay. You can either pay 3 or 5 years in advance, and if you choose to prepay, you do get 3 years of free roadside assistance included, which you don't get if you pay as you go, if that makes any sense. Check the screen now to see what the prices are on average for both the non-turbo and turbo versions. Surprising that the non-turbo one is actually more expensive to maintain. Yeah, weird, right? In my opinion, the Subaru Outback is one of the best cars you can get for this kind of money, for this kind of purpose. All-wheel drive, turbocharged, it's got rugged ability to it, it's got plenty of practicality, it's got all the safety stuff. So yeah, I reckon you could be doing a lot worse than choosing the Subaru Outback, especially with this new turbo engine. Would you bother spending the extra $5 though? Let me know in the comments, or if you choose something else, I'd also love to know that too. Thanks for watching, and please, if you haven't already, do hit like and subscribe and join the community. See you in the next one.